All right, it is week 8 of the fantasy football season, almost at the halfway point, and it's your weekly reminder that kickers are people too. I'm ranking every single kicker starting this week in fantasy. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. All right, 6 buys on the week, so you might have to be making some moves. Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Carty of the LA Rams, Chad Ryland of the Arizona Cardinals, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks, and Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we're going to solve all those issues for you right now. All right, our favorite part of the week, our start 'em every week, guys. Only 3 now in this category, and it's Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Eddie Pinheiro of the San Francisco 49ers, and Brandon Aubrey of the Denver Broncos. Aubrey and McLaughlin with fantastic matchups as well, and Eddie Pinheiro, some high upside, could be a little bit of a low floor against that Houston Texans defense, but I think they could be kicking a lot of field goals down there, so even if you got these guys, doesn't really matter the matchups. Start them every week, but you happen to have some really good matchups for week 8. All right, Jude McNamee of the New York Giants, no longer employed, misses 2 extra points. Brian Dable has sent him into the sun. See you later. Adios, muchacho. But in comes the legend himself, Younghoe Koo, back from nowhere. Gonna be the Giants kicker, it looks like, this week against the Eagles. But he was unavailable for a reason. He's been on the practice squad. I'm not playing Koo yet, but maybe if you want to still believe out there, you could try it if you're in a desperate situation. But I would go ahead and bench him. Playing the Eagles, the vibes in New York are now terrible. So just avoid any Giants kicker, because Brian Dable might start kicking people in the shins like Urban Meyer if his kickers miss another kick. All right, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs been a little hot and cold this year, missed a couple of extra points, missed some field goals here, but it's a fantastic matchup for us here on Monday Night Football, taking on the Washington Commanders. This Chiefs team is back. The offense is humming, explosive plays left and right. And you know what? Washington is just terrible. They're terrible on defense. You may have a little bit of a limited ceiling, but I think it's just way too juicy of an upside. I love the matchup for Harrison Butker. Home Monday Night Football game. Chiefs are going to pour it on, making another national statement that the Chiefs are, in fact, back to being the baddies of the NFL. Loving Butker this week in fantasy. All right, Riley Patterson of the Miami Dolphins. And you know what? Dolphins, good matchup indoors against Atlanta, but Atlanta's at home. They're a different beast. And I'm just joking, guys. The Dolphins are just terrible no matter what. Devon Achane, really the only valuable fantasy guy left. Maybe Darren Waller. Tua Tagovailoa, maybe the worst quarterback contract in the NFL. They can't move the football, and Atlanta's been awesome at home. They've been the #1 defense prior to this 49ers game, and they've been excellent at home out there. They've been feasting. Do not play Riley Patterson. Avoid the Dolphins at all costs. You don't want to put that stress on your life. I know there's not a lot of kickers out there. Avoid this one. All right, Blake Grupe of the New Orleans Saints. Look, New Orleans hasn't been very good this year, but they haven't been a disaster, especially at home. They've moved the football with some success. Tampa Bay's defense also not the best out there, coming off a short week, but they are going to be motivated. They are going to get some wins. Spencer Rattler was pretty bad against Chicago. Could have been outdoors, but he did have some touchdown success. I'm going to put Grupe in the if you have to category. It's a little bit of a thin week, so if he's out there on the waiver wire, you want to just take kind of a maybe safe play here, potentially like a field goal and a touchdown, maybe 2 field goals and a touchdown for New Orleans there. They are at home, they are indoors, so weather isn't a factor. It is a slim picking week for us. I would put him on the, not bench yet, but put him towards the back end of your choices. All right, Green Bay kickers this week. It's looking like it's going to be Luke Havrisk again. I mean, is McManus done forever? I don't know, but he's making 61-yard field goals. That guy's nuts. Tough matchup this week, though, against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh going to Pittsburgh. And it's a Sunday night game. It's at night. It's a terrible place to kick the football. I would try and avoid this one. I know he was good so far. He made all of his kicks in his first start, and he made that big field goal that kind of turned the tide in Arizona. But Pittsburgh's a terrible place to kick the football, especially at night. Steelers defense is kind of all over the place. Packers offense sometimes is asleep, sometimes not awake. So he's not a bench category. If you have to, it's going to be a little bit risky, though. I would try and avoid it here in week 8. All right, Dicker, the kicker for the Los Angeles Chargers, playing on Thursday night, take it on my Minnesota Vikings. A good matchup for Dicker here. This Chargers offense has moved the football some with Justin Herbert. They were slinging it late in that game against Indy, and we just saw Minnesota secondary get carved up by Philadelphia. But Minnesota is one of the better red zone defenses in the NFL, and they do get stops once you cross midfield. So Dicker might have some long field goal opportunities here, and we could see some pressure on Herbert, not so much running game for them. So I'm loving this matchup for Dicker on Thursday. He's one of the most reliable kickers, and I think we're going to have enough options here on offense passing the ball to get the ball into field goal range. The only downgrades were we saw real inconsistency with these injuries for the Chargers. Don't necessarily love Thursday night games, but they've been pretty high scoring this year, actually. So go ahead, punch in Cameron Dicker for a great start in week 8. All right, and I'm rolling with Cameron Dicker this week against my Vikings. I'm heading straight on over to Underdog. Cameron Dicker over 1.5 field goals on Thursday. And if you guys are new to Underdog, make sure you sign up using the link down below, promo code THECATCH. You're going to get a free pick 'em for week 8. Take that pick 'em and take Cameron Dicker to have over 1.5 field goals. And if both hit, you're going to automatically double your cash entry. And on top of that, Underdog is giving all new users who deposit with promo code THECATCH a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And as soon as you play $5 on Underdog, they're automatically going to give you an additional $50 to use towards week 8. Again, that's new users signing up with promo code THECATCH. Be sure to take advantage of all of Underdog's exclusive offers for week 8 of the NFL. All right, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles kind of fixed their offensive woes, but they really haven't been kicking many field goals. You know, Elliott's been really good from distance. Did miss a field goal against Minnesota in a great place to kick. Taking on the Giants this week. They're back home in Philly. I'm going to put him in the fine to start category. Like I said, a little bit of a slim week. Eagles hopefully found a little bit of something with their offense. Giants defense is a concern though. Like they were really good for 3 quarters against the Broncos, then absolutely terrible. They just shut down this Eagles offense 2 weeks ago. So a little bit of a concern there. What kind of Giants team are we going to get? Are the Eagles actually going to have something? Get a little get back there. But Jake Elliott is a fine start. Maybe not a super high ceiling. Usually a pretty comfortable 4 for us in fantasy. So fine start from Jake Elliott in week 8. Okay, Matt Prater of the Buffalo Bills going to Carolina, coming off a bye here. Buffalo's had some real inconsistencies the last 2 weeks. They really needed this bye. They've been banged up. Offense has struggled a bit. Carolina's defense actually not been horrible this year, and they've been pretty damn good at home when all things considered. So I don't love this matchup overall for them. I think it's a fine start, though. I do think there is some upside here. Bye week for Buffalo. They're going to install a lot of offense. Going to get some good plays going, I bet. I don't know. Like, there might be a little voodoo magic in Carolina at home. Panthers undefeated at home this year. So I could have some weird stuff in there, but I do trust Buffalo. I do trust Josh Allen when it's all said or done. Maybe a little bit lower of a ceiling. Pretty safe floor, I think, here from Matt Prater in week 8. All right, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most reliable kickers in the league. I wavered back and forth between this one, between a love and a fine, and I think I'm going to settle with a fine to start Boswell this week. Taking on the Packers on Sunday night. Like I said, night games in Pittsburgh, tough to kick in, but Boswell's kicked great in Pittsburgh. He knows what he's doing there, and we saw some good juice from this Packers offense last Thursday against Cincinnati. I know it's Cincinnati, different defense, but this Packers defense has shown some real vulnerabilities in that secondary. Aaron Rodgers slinging the ball like he was in Green Bay, it looks like, and really the run game is kind of where Green Bay's thrived and the pass rush. So if they can hold up in protection, I think we're going to see some movement of the football from Chicago or from Pittsburgh, over there. But there is some risk to this one. Could we have a Micah Parsons performance for the ages? Could we just get totally bogged down and play a rock fight, a 10-7, 10-13 game? 10-13, not the worst if you're on the 13 end, but I think it's a fine start, maybe a limited ceiling here for Chris Boswell, but a great kicker nonetheless in week 8. All right, Fairbairn of the Houston Texans, one of the best kickers in the league, Mr. Reliable. Little inconsistent. This Texans offense is dreadful. Makes my eyes bleed. They're not even good enough to move the football into range. And if their defense gives up touchdowns, the offense just goes for it and they do dumb stuff over here. Taking on the 49ers, a super banged up defense who did a great job against Atlanta last week. So I don't know. He's a fine start. He's a good kicker. I'm not getting rid of Fairbairn, but he is frustrating nonetheless to deal with. So don't have too high expectations, but in a thin week, I think he falls into the fine start category because if Houston at home can get some success, they may kick some field goals this week instead of going for it on all those fourth downs and capitalizing off those turnovers. So Fairbairn, a fine start. Just a little bit nervous about CJ Stroud in this Texans offense. All right, I think we're going to see Joey Slye again here for the Tennessee Titans. Not 100% sure as of recording right now, but don't play him. I know he had some good start to the season. This Titans offense is dreadful. Cam Ward, I don't know what to do with this team. Don't play any Titans kicker, whoever this week. There's better options. I know it's only 26 guys out there. You'll find somebody better than Joey Slye or whoever's kicking for Tennessee in week 8. Okay, Matt Gay of the Washington Commanders. Probably no Jaden Daniels on Monday night. In comes Mariota. And honestly, they've moved the ball a little bit better with Mariota this season than they have with Jaden. Kansas City's a tough place to play. It's a tough team to deal with. I'll put him in the if you have to category. Gay's also missed a few kicks this year, but I do think there could be some garbage time points, some upside here. Settling for some field goals. You just don't want this game to get too out of hand too fast. So if you have to play Matt Gay, I think he is a playable option here in week 8. I don't love it, but it is a guy that could potentially have a decent week for you. All right, Andre Szmyt of the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's a weird team to deal with. They're also away from home, which makes it even worse. Taking on New England, don't love the potential of a rookie quarterback against a Mike Vrabel-led defense, and this Patriots team is a train wreck to run on. Like, it's disaster. If you're trying to run on New England, it's going to be terrible for you. Life's going to suck. And that's kind of Cleveland's best offense is running with Quinshon Judkins. I don't know if the dink and dunk's going to work against them. I'm just not going to play Szmyt over here, especially away from home. If this game was in Cleveland, maybe a little bit more love here because the Browns defense is just excellent at home. But go ahead and bench Andre Szmyt for week 8. Okay, Michael Badgley of the Indianapolis Colts filling in nicely over here the last few weeks, taking on the Tennessee Titans at home. And Indy, look, I'd love to put him in the love category because I think Indy's the real deal, but their offense is a little too good for us, and Tennessee really may not put up any resistance here. I think he's a fine start. I think he could have a nice week based on extra points alone. Maybe he gets a field goal in there, but I think Indy's just too good offensively. They score touchdowns like it's going out of style here. Jonathan Taylor crushing it in the league. So Badgley, a safe kicker, safe play, low ceiling, decent floor over here. Maybe Tennessee gives us a break. Maybe Indy fumbles a snap and we end up kicking a couple field goals here. But I think their Colts are just too good on offense to love this matchup. So Badgley, if he's available, fine substitution. Just don't have any crazy expectations with how good this Colts offense is. Okay, Parker Romo of the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Miami Dolphins. They're in Atlanta. Team's better in Atlanta. I'll put him in the fine to start category. He's on the lower end of the fine to start category, I think. He's been very inconsistent this year. We've seen field goals get blocked from him last few weeks. And after that great week 1, he's been kind of up and down there. But they are a much better home team than they are a road team here. So Parker Romo probably available in most of your leagues. Might be a decent waiver pickup just for a safe floor, I think. Don't be surprised, though, if there is a miss, if there is a block, because it's kind of been a running theme for him. But not the worst play, especially with Atlanta at home. They're going to be able to move the football. The worst run defense. Bijan might go for 3 bills on Sunday. Okay, it's going to be Jake Moody again, it looks like, for Chicago, not Cairo Santos. So we just have this beautiful Bears face over here for us. But Jake Moody, not been terrible. Kicked a game-winning field goal a couple of weeks ago. Going to Baltimore, taking on the Ravens. This is a gotta-have-it game for the Ravens. And honestly, the offense has been very reliant on the run game the last 2 weeks. Caleb has not been good. They haven't had explosive passes, and they've been feasting off of turnovers. Baltimore, with Lamar back, think they're going to try and hang on to the rock, think they're going to play time of possession over here. I think if you have to, Baltimore is also not a great place to kick if you're not the home kicker for this team. If you're the away kickers tend to struggle. Home kickers do a good job there, but again, Moody, do we trust him? How long can we actually trust Jake Moody? Probably available out there. So if you do believe in Caleb Williams, you do believe in this Ben Johnson offense, and if you're really selling how bad this Ravens defense is, because they had a decent showing their last outing against the Rams, go ahead and play Jake Moody for the Chicago Bears. Okay, Nick Folk of the New York Jets. If it's Tyrod Taylor starting at quarterback, I think You can play him if you have to. He's been reliable this year. I think the offense is a little better. If it's Justin Fields, bench him. I think it's going to be Tyrod. I don't think it's going to be Fields. If it's Fields, bench Nick Folk. If it's Tyrod, I think he's okay to play if it's a very thin waiver wire out there. They're taking on Cincy in Cincy, another kind of weird place to kick. And the Bengals defense has been a little bit better the last few weeks, and the Jets offense is just so dreadful over there. So if you have to play him, I think you can. I think he can get you out there. He can make a field goal or two for you. But if it's Justin Fields, please stay away. Please stay away from any Jet if Justin Fields is the starting quarterback. Okay, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos coming off a game winner, taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Denver again. This Dallas defense, not very good. Not very good at all. Problem is Sean Payton is also ultra aggressive. He likes scoring touchdowns, doesn't really settle for field goals out there, and Lutz has missed some field goals this year. So I put him in the fine to start category. I think we're going to see a better offensive output from this Broncos team than we saw for 3 quarters, especially against this Dallas defense. Lutz, reliable guy at home usually. Again, good vibes there off the game winner. So maybe not a super high ceiling, pretty safe floor, and plus maybe you get a big one kicking out there in the altitude. Okay, Andy Borregales of the New England Patriots taking on the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to put him in the if you have to category. He's been really good since that Miami game week 2 where he had a few misses in that one. Very solid for them. Problem is, this Patriots offense scores touchdowns, baby. Drake May and the boys score touchdowns, and they go for 2 over here, so they forego extra points. Cleveland on the road, defense not as scary, lot scarier at home, but you do always have that creeping sensation in the back of your mind. They're like, oh man, what if Cleveland just plays game record today? Because they do have a good defense on the field, though. So if you have to, I think he's towards the higher end of guys available on the waiver wire that you could pick up out there. Who knows? Kicking's weird out there, but Andy's fine if you want to play him in week 8. Evan Money McPherson, our guy. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Joe Flacco has brought our boy back from the depths of nowhere. Evan McPherson, baby, taking on the New York Jets and this new look Cincinnati Bengals offense with Jumpin' Joe Flacco moving the football. There's some real upside here. I'm going to put him in the fine to start category because it could have been just a one-off against Pittsburgh. Jets defense, though, not great. Not great this year. Playing a little bit better. But I am very optimistic that we could be having a guy like McPherson back into our lineup consistently week in and week out. He is a very good kicker. He's had some downsides. He's lost some confidence. But I think the team as a whole is jazzed up. So fine to start this week, especially in a depleted bye week over here in week 8. Okay, my man Will, the Thrill, Reichard taking on the LA Chargers on Thursday night. And why not? Let's throw it in the love matchup, baby. Will Reichard leading the league in 59-yard plus field goals. My man is hitting them from downtown like nobody's business. Indoor game again. There is some concern with this Vikings offense. Carson Wentz is a bit banged up. And if he goes back out there and we got to play Max Brosmer, it could get ugly. But this Chargers defense has been bad, man. Indy just carved them up. They're super banged up as well. It's just kind of going to be a weird, ugly game, I think, on Thursday night. But a lot of points. But Minnesota, who went from being one of the best red zone teams in football, was dreadful against the Eagles. If those woes continue, they're going to kick a lot of field goals. He had a monster game for us on Sunday. So loving the potential, super high ceiling this week for Will Reichard. Okay, Ryan Fitzgerald of the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to put him in the if you have to category. You know what? Carolina at home, not a terrible team. They've done some good stuff. Now, if it's Andy Dalton, Bryce Young, we don't know there. Buffalo's run defense, though, is atrocious. We got Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowell running the football. That's a nice 1-2 combo, especially the way Rico's been playing. So I do think there is some upside here for Fitzgerald. Could get some points, could have some opportunities to kick some field goals. And in a thin week, don't think he's worth a bench. Think he's a guy that you could potentially go out there and play if you are in need of a kicker in week 8. Okay, Tyler Loop, finally, of the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Chicago Bears at home, and this is a gotta-have-it game for the Ravens. Bears defense been feasting off of turnovers, but they have been vulnerable. You have been able to score points against them. I think with Lamar back, this is going to be a fun game for you Ravens fans out there. I think we have a big week in fantasy for Tyler Loop. I think the Ravens score a bunch of points. I think they take their field goals here. They're going to force Chicago to go put up a 30-piece if they have to. They're just going to keep adding on. Loving this matchup for Tyler Loop in week 8. I know Baltimore, tough place for road kickers, but home kickers have been very successful, and Loop's been pretty dang good as a rookie for us this year. So I'm loving this matchup against the Bears with Lamar back in week 8. All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Let me know down in the comments below any of your fantasy kicker questions. I'm here to guide you through the Bimageddon in week 8. If you guys haven't already, drop a quick like on this video, subscribe to the channel. We got all the daily fantasy football content you guys could ever want. We got your must starts at quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end for every single matchup, your must start defenses, your waiver wire targets, all the fantasy stuff you guys could ever need. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss a thing. If you want to see more of me talking football and not just fantasy, check out the link down below. Head over to my channel. Again, guys, like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.